Welcome to Subramani. In the month of October 2025, I made a trip to UP. Right, it included just three places, which we landed in. We landed in Varanasi, that is Kashi, Banaras, however you want to call it, whatever you want to call it. Stayed there for 2-3 days, and then we went to Ayodhya. Stayed there for a couple of days, and then we went to Lucknow. This is not a video about my trip. In fact, I have spoken about each of those locations, right? Lucknow, Ayodhya, and of course Varanasi. But this is about the UP state tourism. I was just looking at some numbers and it is mind-boggling. There has been a 46% increase over the last 5 years. I think last 4 years, 2020 to 2024. Of course, it helps that 2020 in all our calculations would be a very good base because the base was very low. But let us just look at the numbers. The 5 years from 2020 to 2024, driven largely by a post-COVID rebound of visitors numbers, and of course there is infrastructure improvements and a surge in religious and cultural tourism revenue as provided by the UP state government, which is also when you talk of revenue, you talk of direct spending on accommodation, food, transport, etc. based on official visitor statistics and reported expenditure numbers. Sharp decline had happened in 2021 because of COVID. That's fairly obvious. Explosive recovery from 2022 onward, fueled by sites like Ayodhya, Ram Temple inauguration, Varanasi and Agra. Of course, the Kumbh Mela is also added to this, and I don't think the Kumbh Mela numbers will ever be repeated so soon, except perhaps another 12 years and another Kumbh Mela or some other Mela comes up. These kind of numbers can't be repeated. But year-wise, look at the tourism in domestic tourists obviously are 95% of arrivals, and foreign national make up the remaining 5% share. So which means there's still a lot of potential of what we can achieve by trying to get more foreign tourists in, right? Of course, here the NRI who comes to India gets classified as domestic tourist or a foreign tourist. I'm not very clear, but look at the numbers, right? So the domestic tourism arrival was about 0.3 million in 2020. Right, 2020. Sorry, domestic was 134 million and foreign was 0.3, and total arrivals being 134.3. So again, insignificant portion of foreigners. And the 2021 it was 109, which means it had fallen from 134 to 109. I'm ignoring the foreign because the foreign is really insignificant, but foreign actually went up in 2021. In 2022, hold your breath, it was 317.9, and in 2023 it was 478, and 2024 it was 649 million. Right, this is obviously the Kumbh Mela effect in 2024. This kind of growth may not be there in 2025, but I'm not very sure. The estimated foreign tourists was about 10 million. By this time, of the growth rate obviously there being much lesser, but still that's not insignificant from 0.3 to 10. That is also good growth. Overall growth from 2020 to 24, approximately 360% increase from 0.87 trillion rupees to over 4 trillion rupees, right? These represents a compounded annual growth rate of 46%, far outpacing India's national tourism recovery. So UP is a big state, so but there are smaller states like Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh obviously have something to learn as to what all can be done. So I think things are very simple. Provide clean toilets in airports, railway stations and in public places like, say, if you're running a Ram temple or things like that, make sure that is available. Make sure good food is available. Just outside Ram temple you have so many Udupi hotels which gives you a range of choice. Any Indian food you want, South Indian, North Indian, any full range is available. So even if you want to eat North Indian and your parents want to eat South Indian food, that combination is available. Clean toilets, good airport. I have not visited the Ayodhya airport. I used Lucknow and Varanasi. and good hotels. That's it. And get the basic infrastructure in place. I'm sure if some guy tries to touch a woman or molest a woman, he'll be taken to the task, right? So that's it. Get the basics right. So you go to Gaya, you get it cleaned up. That's it. You again, like I said, if the Japanese have to come for the Buddhist circuit, if the Indians have to go for the Buddhist circuit and all, I mean, part of us, some of us will go for the history, some of us will go for the religious part. I mean, I may take my mother for the religious part, my sister may come for history, and I may just go to see the infrastructure development, right? So all this combination of travel will happen. The domestic tourist cannot be ignored. He's now a decently big spender also. I'm not saying every guy is going to spend, right? So if you go to Ayodhya, you see the amount of bhakti that is there in people, right? So the religious and cultural tourism cannot be ignored because they are on a tight budget. So they eat poha for 20 rupees and cha for 10 bucks. So 30 rupees their breakfast is done. I'm sure they must be having lunch also, maybe 45 rupees, and again something at dinner, which is another 30-40 rupees. So on about 100-150 rupees per day, if their food can be met, and if they can stay on 400-500 rupees, that is how they stay. They get into a and they get into somebody who's doing a timeshare or something like a place where you can do a homestay, and some 5-6 of them pile on to a room, right? You may want to spend more money more luxuriously. You may be looking for a Taj Ayodhya or a Taj Banaras, but some others are not looking for it. So all these people contribute to the revenue. Even there are people, when you walk along the road in Ayodhya, there are people who will come and apply chandan on your forehead. I'm sure it's not great quality chandan, maybe there's very little chandan, and put a Jai Shri Ram thappa on your forehead. I got it done at least 4-5 times in 2 days, right? You wash your face, it goes away, you get it done again. How much does it cost? 10 bucks. How much does a tea on the road cost? 10 bucks. Udupi restaurant, how much is the cost of the tea? Maybe 40 bucks, right? So again, access to good food, access to good toilets, access to women being treated well, in the sense that you're not scared. You're sure that with Yogi in power, if something happens and you went to the police station, you would be heard. I am hope so. I never had to use those things. So I think if you can get some of these basic rights, you can get your you can really set for yourself a fantastic chance to make a lot of money in tourism. Revenue benchmarks from SBI research report shows 2.1 trillion in revenue. 2.2 and 2024 projection was more than 4 trillion. I don't have the figures for 2024 also, leave alone for 2025. I think only by 2027 January will we get all the 2025 figures accurately. And 2020 dip was estimated. There was a 75% decline, which was aligned in national trend. Uttar Pradesh leads today in domestic tourism share with 21.94% in 2024, right? That's not small. Of course, it's a big state. Of course, you can't compare UP to Goa. Of course, you can't compare, but you can still compare UP to Tamil Nadu. You can compare UP to Maharashtra, Bihar. Right, all these states have to catch up. Orissa has some lovely beaches. The amount of potential tourism that is there in India is it's amazing, and a lot of Indians are today willing to travel. You go to any of the tiger reserves and you can't get, I mean, Ranthambore and Corbett, you cannot get a permit unless you apply 6 months in advance, right? So you have your UP, you have your MP, you have Uttarakhand, all those pulling up their socks, and of course Orissa. There will be alternatives to Goa. Thank you.